Card from Backstreet Boys.
Shout out to Boy Band Break.
It's Kirkpatrick here. Shout out to your podcast, Boy Band Break.
Everybody, this is Howie D, and I'm listening to Boy Band Break.
Hi, Ashley Parker Angel here. Huge shout out to the Boy Band Break podcast.
This is Brad from LFO, and you are listening to Boy Band Break.
Hey, what's up? This is Jacob.
What's up? It's Dan.
What's up? It's Trevor.
And it's Eric Michael, and it's time for Boy Band Break, baby. Let's go!
Bam, 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 bam.
Welcome back to Boy Band Break, where we encourage you to take a break from your day and join us in some boy band conversation. As always, I'm Cinzia.
I'm Sophia.
And Lydia, aka Mama Lou, is not here today, but she will be back in 2 weeks' time. So not next week, but the week after. Do you want to know why, Sophia?
Because it is our 300th episode.
Yay! Still don't have an exact plan for that yet. I'm manifesting something, and hopefully it'll work out. But you know what?
Well, let's get those positive energies out there. Positive vibes.
What we're doing here. But yes, we'll get that out there, and hopefully, yay. If not, if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see in our 300th episode, or any episode, leave notes in the comments, or hit us up on anywhere on social media: Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok,
Twitter, X, whatever it's called, and other things, at Boy Band Break, BoyBandBreak.
And all of the links are on our link tree in our bio. So take a look there. It's all in one place.
Yes, and also YouTube. So go check us out on YouTube, because on our YouTube channel, we also put random clips from shows that we've gone to. I just randomly found some Pop 2000 in Paradise ones that I hadn't uploaded. So those are up there. You know what? It was just Canada Day this week. And that means it was the 2-year anniversary of our most viral video ever.
Yes.
Which was when Drake came out on stage and performed with the Backstreet Boys.
And saying, I want it that way.
Yes.
And then he went into the whole spiel of what he said to Kevin at dinner. Of like his bar mitzvah, something. I feel like the saying was like he danced with his girlfriend to "I Want It That Way."
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And then that made he felt cool, something like that.
It was we just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and because we had seen the show before, we're like, this is a bit of a longer pause. Let's just start recording and see if something happens. And then
and then I feel like because there was like a different voice, and you're like, this doesn't sound like normal, what they normally do. Something's gonna happen. And then Drake appeared.
And we were stuck in that parking lot after the concert for so long. And so I just uploaded it, thought nothing of it, and the next morning we already had 1,000 views, and then it just kept getting picked up everywhere.
And then Drake helped us get lots of subscribers.
So please subscribe. That's great.
So thank you, Drake. We've been thanking Drake for 2 years, basically.
There you go. So happy Canada Day to anyone. Happy belated 4th of July when this airs. So
Yes, I posted it on Boy Band Break on my social as well. Fun times.
Speaking of fun times, another one of my very favorite Canada Day memories was when we were in the States. Where we were.
We were in Fandom Fest, Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, 6 years ago. That came up in my Facebook memories.
Crazy. So 6 years ago, it just happened to be the Canada Day weekend. So we're like, all right, we got an extra day off work. Let's do this. So we went down there. We met up with our friend Janae from West Virginia. And so it was obviously Nick, Howie, AJ, and then
just those three.
There's no other boy banders from that was most. I don't even know what the con was. It was just a random comic book con type thing. But
so I think this was like their first. No, this was like their second one.
Yes.
Or third one.
I feel like it was one of Howie's first.
Yeah.
He was confused, although he forgot about.
I think this one was his second one because I remember we went up to him and was like, "This is not your first one. This is your second one," because he thought it was the only one that he went to. And then we brought back the memory of him like, "Do I need to make change?" And I was like, "No, you do not."
My other favorite, so what we did is we brought a whole bunch of like Canadian items to show the picture. Yeah,
Yes.
did we put it on Facebook this year, or is it just on? You know what? I know for sure it's on Twitter. So,
I posted it on my Instagram if you want to.
Okay. So basically, they were just, we had brought a bunch of Canadian, here we go. You'd think I'd know how to share this by now.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, share. So this is the classic picture. So basically, so for those who are just listening and not watching, Nick is wearing a Canada flag as a cape and holding a hockey stick. AJ is smiling with teeth, which was always like a thing. We're like, oh my god, we got AJ with teeth. That was like,
and this is the second time that we had a picture with him with teeth. The other one was the Dick Splash picture.
Yes, that was a good picture.
Yeah.
Yes, we have that. We're holding some stuffies. So
Holding a beaver or a moose. Yes, he's holding a moose and I'm holding the beaver.
Yeah. I have the ketchup chips and the all dressed chips. We're all wearing little Canada flag
Headbands.
Headbands, that's the word. And then Howie's there with the maple syrup. So what happened was
Which he got to choose.
Yes. So before we went up for the picture, Howie was the only one at his table. So we're like, Howie, we're going to do a Canada one because it's Canada Day. You get to pick your item from this plethora of Canadian things. You can't see I also have a Justin Trudeau tote. So anyway, so then...
Yes, we made it that weekend, right? The weekend before?
I think so, yeah. So
yeah.
So big. But anyway, so Howie's like, I want maple syrup. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Because he was saying that he makes pancakes for his family for breakfast.
Pancakes for his kids. That's his dad thing that he does. And he loves Canadian maple syrup. So I was like, okay, buddy, after the photo shoot, you can have it, right? So,
well, good thing we went to Howie first.
It was so funny.
Howie's hilarious.
Determined he was going to get the stick. So we kind of like were near the end of the line, and they already knew this. But then as we're coming up, we turned the corner, and thankfully our friend Janae was actually filming it. But
yes,
it's freaking hilarious. So go
and full Empire Promotions from Dominic also had a video of us.
Oh,
well,
yeah. Oh, from the different angle, yeah.
Yes.
What about that one?
It's of the day, and then we are part of that day.
So basically,
that's cool.
We turn the corner and they see us, and Nick knows, at least in cons, we used to just dress him up, and he'd just stand still and let us dress him up.
Yes.
We're just gonna.
Yes, we obviously told Nick and Howie. I don't think we told AJ.
AJ wasn't there. He was.
Yes, he wasn't there yet, but yeah, we told Nick and Howie.
Yes.
I think we were like, Nick, you're just going to have a hockey stick and the Canadian flag on you, and there you go.
He's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay. So we go in, and as we go in, we're like putting it on him. And then he gets so excited for this hockey stick. It was my boss's son's stick. Because we didn't have it. And he's just like,
and then he was like, blame Canada.
Blame Canada. And they're doing this, and then Howie decides he's gonna like come down. So as he comes down, he puts his foot out, and then Nick like bashes his foot with the hockey stick.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Yes.
And meanwhile, we're trying to like disperse and give everybody their things. It was so funny. And then Howie's like, I'm gonna pretend I'm drinking it. We're like, okay. And then he's there, and at the very last second, he's like, wait a minute. And he like puts up his thumb.
I know. I was like, thumbs up. I was like, okay, Howie. That's amazing.
Funniest. It was so funny.
Absolutely hilarious.
One of those cons where normally like the bigger cons, like 90s cons and things like that, they like by the time you basically get out of the line, collect your shit and go, they've already printed out the picture. But this was like a smaller con, and it was they didn't have that technology, so we had to come back like an hour later or something. So we start coming back, and all of a sudden the guy at the photo was like,
I know, he was so excited for us. He's like, oh my gosh, you're the best picture of the con!
This entire convention. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay. He's like, I made a copy for myself. I was like, okay. It was great. He's like, I think he actually gave us a second copy for free.
Yes, but it was funny that I was like, okay, that's fine.
I was like, you guys are hilarious. We're like, yes, obviously. But anyways, it's funny. So if you want to check that out, go on our social media. And if you want to check out the video, go on our YouTube because it's
So we spent a couple times on Canada Day long weekend with the Backstreet Boys.
yes, we have. And then
Well, some of them.
There was also another one. We were also at another con, and they had no, it wasn't a con. Sorry, it was Boston Fenway,
Yes.
and it was with Florida Georgia Line, and they were there.
Yes.
And it was also was it Canada Day the next day, or we were just made a sign because no, they were coming to a festival in Montreal the next day.
Yes. Fete Quebec.
Yeah. So the summer festival of Quebec.
Yeah.
So we had oh my god, this is so funny. So we used to put a lot of thought in our pictures, and also they used to actually let you have props back in the day.
They literally allowed you to have signs in there, props. Now you're not allowed anything.
Make the picture go, whatever. So sorry if we're one of the people who caused this, but we were always fast. Like we got in and out very quickly. So basically, yes. So we have these. I wish I could find a picture. Oh, it's probably.
I think for the Boston one, we just did signs. Like, you know how like we always have signs for Backstreet Boys, and then we had them have signs for us because we thought it would be funny.
Yes. So basically, yeah, exactly. So we're always holding signs for the Backstreet Boys, and they're there. Like now we're the celebrities, and they're holding signs for us.
Yes,
So,
which was very entertaining.
Me greatly. So yeah, so basically,
And that's when the BSB account posted our I Heart Canadian sign.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to. Yeah, so we had like I loved like it was like Sophia's the bomb and whatever, and the names and stuff. And
I think
had, like
was it Cinzia was the bomb?
Well, maybe I was the bomb. Yeah.
I don't know.
But we had the boys holding signs for us, and then one of the signs says, "I heart Canadians." So as we were leaving, their tour person was like, "Hold up, how we hold this sign?" Like, okay, they held the sign that said, "We love Canadians."
And then, like in the background, Diane's there, so that was funny.
But yeah, so anyway, so then they used it to promote the fact that they were coming to Canada. I was like, there you go, and then everyone like, what was the point of that story? I don't know, but
I think it was like because we're talking about Canada Day.
Yes, that's right.
And that's part of the celebration of that.
Yes, celebration. I'm not finding the picture. What's the heck? It was right here. We just had it the other day. Oh, here it is. Found it. Found it. Share screen. We are totally always prepared for this podcast and have things like ready to go. Anyways, here it is. So this was our like I love Canadians with a little Canada flag. So they're like Yesterday's meet and greet was on point. Quebec City was so yeah. So that was a fun trip as well. So
yes. It rained that day, so we made garbage bag ponchos, and then we distributed them to other fans in the crowd. It was quite a Canadian experience.
So basically, we went to Walmart, and they're like, "Oh crap, it's raining," and it said you weren't allowed to have umbrellas, and it was an outdoor festival. But the ponchos were, or they were something stupid like $10.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
But there was a box of 100 garbage bags for like $6 for sold. So then we just like.
Oh my god! I think at like one point I had like pants and like a dress, and then like a
bowl with the head.
My head as well. It was quite hilarious. And then I think like half an hour later, the sun came out. It was like boiling hot. I was like, great.
It was somebody's, yeah. So right.
This is usually how it goes.
We were just waiting there like chumps in the afternoon, getting poured on, and then when the things finally opened, this place was enormous. Like to get to the stage, it was like you're running for like.
Oh my god! You had to like run so far.
We were like trying to. We were like, Sophia, you're the only one.
Yeah. So then I just like bucked it. Like I went so fast. I was like, and then I think we got like 15th row, which is not bad.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
Considering where we were in the line.
Yeah, we should have been closer to people. I feel like there was like VIP entrances and people came in from other ways that were closer.
Yeah, and I think the stage was a little bit high too. So
I So I feel like if we were like front row, would have been shit because it would have been above and you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Right, and then your like head would be like,
Really like a good spot. And we're in the other signs.
and at that time, Nick Jonas was like, "I love Canada," and I was like, "You're not even in Canada, or you are in Canada." No, he said something.
Said something, but I can't remember. Or I think he actually said
Toronto.
And we're like,
yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
But what's funny is that we had made signs for the Backstreet Boys, and we made a Nick, just a Nick and a heart.
Right.
Oh, this sign.
And then it worked because he's also a Nick.
And then Nick Jonas was like, yeah. And I was like, the sign was not for you, but it is now, buddy. So there you go. So.
Hey, multi-purpose sign. There you go.
Sign, good for the environment. All great. So, yeah, no, that was fun shit. Anyway.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of fun Canada Day experiences. This is the point of this part of the show. And obviously, this is a segue towards our episode because we're talking about one member of Backstreet Boys. And we're going to add another boy band member, which is Chris Kirkpatrick.
So, yes. So, as you know, Chris Kirkpatrick, my husband's, from NSYNC, has a podcast with Brian McFayden.
Yeah.
From MTV. And it's called Name Drop. So you can go check them out. They're on YouTube and as well as all the streaming sites. So
and can I just say, like, I know people I think I've seen like a few times who are like, oh my God, can you stop ringing the bell? But I like it.
The bell is the thing. The whole point of it is that they interview celebrities, and then anytime a name drop, they click a bell. So it's like ding 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 ding. So it's
sometimes they forget to do it, but I think because they were slacking a little bit, they're just like constantly ringing the bell now.
Ding 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 ding. I'm like,
yeah, but I was like, I like it. That's fun. That's the whole point of this show.
It's funny and it's good. So, yes, they are very interesting.
And AJ I think did pretty good name dropping a bunch of people.
He really did, except for the one part where they asked for names and then his mind went blank and he forgot.
Right, but
I also it's split up into two parts. Part one and then part two. But I think it's funny that they use different pictures of AJ for the cover picture. So I'm like, that's cute. So it came out about a month ago. If you haven't checked it out, you can go check it out, or you can listen to our little recap here. Actually, I just remembered one more thing before. One more boy bandy update right now. So normally this happens earlier in the year and throughout the summer, but Epcot released their Eat to the Beat concert schedule. So this is obviously in Disney World in Florida. So they do that. And so it's a whole bunch of different artists throughout it. But always, Joey Fatone and Friends is there for the last 3 or 4 years, and usually brings other members of boy bands or Ryan Cabrera or other. Lance, I think, was there last year for one of the days. Chris was there. So yeah, so I'm assuming he's gonna have an AJ there this year. Okay. Seems to be open,
do you have a celebrity knocking on your door?
Who knows? It could be anyone. So anyway, so normally it's through the summer, but I guess it's really hot in the summer in Florida. So they changed it this year, so it actually doesn't start until August 30th with a band called The Fray.
Which I guess is pretty good, because maybe the end of summer is better season-wise.
I think maybe also might not be as busy because people are back to school and stuff, so this is a good way to get people to come in.
That's true. Yeah, an incentive to go.
If I recall correctly, they do 2 performances a day.
Yes, I recall that being the case, because I feel like some videos last year they had a few performances
on and stuff. And
yeah.
What's going on here? So they do multiple days and then they do 2 performances a day. So I'm just gonna do a quick peruse here and let you know which boy bands will be there. They also have people 80s musicians like Tiffany and stuff. They're gonna be there. The Wanted, do we consider The Wanted a boy band?
Well, One Direction, right? Like,
The Wanted was more of like a rocky boy band, and I think they were like kind of.
oh, okay. I just remember like The Wanted and then like One Direction had a beef,
Like,
and then their fans were like feuding together, and I was like, okay.
Yes.
I'm like, I guess this is the modern BSB versus NSYNC fans.
Yes, but not as exciting. So yeah. So if you were interested in The Wanted, they're going to be there September 22nd and 23rd. This is also an interesting thing. It is very random how many days these artists are performing. Some of them are 1 day, some are 2. One of them is 4 days. And it's just like, just random. I think Joey's done 4 days in the past, 3 or 4 days. So he's not there. So, okay, so So Joey Fatone and Friends is October 6th and 7th. The crappy part is that is the week before Thanksgiving in Canada. So,
and that's the weekend Nick is performing in Niagara Falls because it's October 5th and 6th.
Oh, okay. Now I don't feel so bad that I'm not going then.
That's right.
Yeah, so Joey Fatone and Friends, and it's a Sunday, Monday for some reason. That's weird. But, so he'll be there. Who knows? His friends generally include a boy band member, but can also be just random.
My guess it will be NSYNC members like Chris Kirkpatrick and Lance.
Probably going to be AJ if AJ's not doing anything, right?
Okay, yeah, maybe AJ. I just feel like the majority of the time that they've done this, I think, has he done it twice? Maybe once or twice? I don't remember.
He's done it at least twice, maybe more, but I feel like every year Chris kind of shows up.
Yeah, usually. And then the last time was Lance. So I feel like those two would probably. And then, I guess AJ would go because they're doing the Legendary Night tour.
Because they're doing Legendary Night.
Yeah.
Who knows? Thing is, he doesn't really say it ahead of time. You just have to basically be there. And
you're literally, it's like, surprise!
Surprise! And then we just live vicariously through people live streaming. So thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate. Okay, that's the other boy band-ish that we've classified as a boy band sometimes. Hanson is going to be there for 4 days, so they are October 25th to 28th.
That's cool.
Boys to Men will be there on November 3rd and 4th.
Ooh.
And then the last band that I consider a boy band is closing it off on November 17th and 18th, and that is 98 Degrees. So 98 Degrees will be there as well. So.
Nice.
In the Florida area, great to check out some boy bands.
Well, like Christmas time is pretty cool in Florida.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So the concerts are free, but you have to get into the park. So I guess
if you order it like before then, if you're doing the math, because people are saying like, either it's a meme, if you pay before, like months in advance, basically it's free by the time you get there.
Basically it's free by the time you get there, for sure. So yeah. So.
I was like, sure.
And then I guess if you're a local to Florida, I think you can get like season passes and stuff. So
yeah.
Although I think they're a lot.
Obviously, it would be better if you lived in Florida because you don't have to pay a gazillion dollars.
Yes, that's true. But there you go. I'm sure you can find like deals online or whatever. So
where there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure.
Yes. So The Wanted, Joey Fatone, Hanson, Boys to Men, and 98 Degrees. So a nice mix of boy bands there. So check it out. And that is the Beat to the Beat concert schedule. All right. Now we are going back to the podcast episode.
Yes. This is the name drop. AJ McLean, part 1 of a part 2 series interview event. I don't know. What is it? What are you really doing?
All right. So
this is how they hype people up, right? They're like, yeah, it's part 1 of a part 2 event.
And then what I thought was weird was that part 1 was a lot shorter than part 2. Like it was only 30 minutes, and then part 2 was an hour.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess like by the end it's starting to get good, and then you're like, no, they're coming off, and you have to like wait. But for us, at least we didn't listen to it or watch it until a month later, so we didn't have that problem.
There you go. So you didn't have to wait. Okay, so. My notes kind of start more in the middle of part 2, but then I kind of went back and vaguely listened to part 1 and skipping through, so I wrote some notes. Feel free to jump in. Obviously,
I didn't write any notes, but I feel like I could remember some of the things.
You have a better memory than
I feel like some of the stories were like I don't know, they sounded familiar, maybe because like when you follow a band, you just know the stories.
We've heard a bunch of these stories.
Yes. And then it was like, some of them was pretty interesting because Kirkpatrick obviously hasn't shared as many of the stories.
An entertaining man, that Kirkpatrick.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this podcast, the two-parter. I feel like they did like a nice back and forth, AJ's memories and Chris's memories. So I really liked it.
And it's interesting to see how similar and also how different their experiences were.
Yes. At one point, AJ almost like threw shade at Chris because Backstreet Boys, he was saying Backstreet Boys had a little bit harder. And then Chris was like, whoa, what are you talking about?
And that's where they kind of cut it off on the phone.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, shoot. Okay, I got to click the part 2 for sure now. What's happening?
Kind of real.
Is it going to be a tip or something? And then it was fine, but I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, so... Oh,
and obviously, AJ is coming from his perspective, so he, even though it's similar... It's not like Chris obviously went through different things, but it sounded similar as well.
For sure. So a lot of the stuff we have heard, they did talk about Lou quite a bit. So we, the Boy Band Con, which was Lance's documentary, 2020's done things, American Breed has done things. We know a bunch of the Lou stuff. Wasn't a lot of. Also we should mention that Netflix.
Yes.
Has a boy band.
The Lou Pearlman story or something like that. Was it?
What's it called? Hold on 1 sec. I was just looking at it earlier.
Yeah, I don't remember like when. Did they have a date for that? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's July 24th, I believe.
All right. Well, we'll probably do a review of it, and we'll see like what's different from the Lance one.
Yes. What is it called? It's not called the Boy Band Con because that was Lance. Dirty.
And then I wonder if like AJ will be in it because I feel like AJ's the one, is the representative for the Backstreet Boys when they're talking about Lou.
Yes. Yeah, it was nice because they definitely interviewed AJ and Chris in this.
Mm-hmm.
So it is called Dirty Pop, the Boy Band Scam.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's
and Chris and AJ even talk about that, like if you take away the Ponzi scheme and everything else, like if he wasn't so greedy, like he could have made it like really big, right? Like
yep.
He could have still kept a lot of money.
Oh, that Lou. Yeah, so July 24th is when it comes out.
Okay, there was just a lot of greed, you know?
About the angle and the focus of the documentary. However, Netflix posts give viewers a tease of what is to come, describing the project. The caption reads, the docuseries tracks the rise and fall of Lou Pearlman, the music mogul who created and exploited some of the biggest boy bands of the 90s, including Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and O-Town. Which, I just have to say, it feels like they didn't really talk about it that much when AJ and Chris were talking. We're talking about like C-Note more than that. So that's interesting. Okay, so I have some notes here.
I do wonder like if it will be anything new that we don't already know.
Well, remember when Lance did his documentary, Boy Band Con, and he had asked a bunch of people, and a lot of people did not want to be interviewed for it. And then once they saw the documentary, they were like, oh, yeah, we totally could have been interviewed for this, like whatever, because boy, I have some stories to tell. So,
right.
And then Lance was thinking of maybe
they thought it would be like a different documentary. Maybe because like why would you say no? Or maybe you don't want to be associated with Lou anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyways, it's not like
yeah.
Anyways, I love how we're like, what is this, 26 minutes in, and we have not even gotten to the actual.
Well, to be fair, it's like name drop. You know, they did talk about Lou in the name drop podcast, so it's all good. It's all. If you've been listening for almost 300 episodes, you know that we do this all the time.
Okay, so I have some notes. If I can read my handwriting, that would be a blessing, guys. All right.
Excellent. You got this.
Okay, so it starts off, I didn't write this part, but basically it starts off, and they're like, oh, hey, when's your favorite when's your birthday? And then for some reason, Ryan McFayden has like a favorite president, and it's Richard Nixon. And then they were like, "Oh, your birthday's the same." It was a weird thing.
Yeah, I was like, what does this have to do with what you're talking about right now? But I guess they're trying to show like, oh, this is going to be like a fun podcast. So we're just bringing a little light into it, I guess. So, light and fun.
Exactly. So basically, at some point, I don't know why these notes started here. Anyways, Chris was put the band together, but he couldn't say that it was a Lou band. Like, it was very much in secrecy and things like that. What's interesting is it didn't clue in. I guess I already knew this, but I didn't realize that AJ also is the one who started Backstreet Boys. Like,
he was the first member of the Backstreet Boys.
So it's kind of interesting that they're both kind of started their thing.
And then I always love hearing this story that Howie DeRoe was not Howie DeRoe when he went out for auditions. He was Tony Danetta.
Tony Danetta, baby.
I thought that was hilarious. I always enjoy hearing this because I was like, you could have lost out on being a Backstreet Boy.
Basically, Howie auditioned. They loved him. He introduced himself as Tony Danetta, but had his information written down as Howie DeRoe. So when they tried to find him, they couldn't find him.
Because they can't find a Tony Danetta because his name is not Tony Danetta.
Whatever. So then a year later,
they're like, hey, how?
And he almost didn't go to the audition. He's like, I think these are the guys that rejected me last time. He ended up going to the audition, and they're like, Tony. And he's like, Howie. And they're like, Bubba, we've been looking for you. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Yes, it was very, I don't know. I always enjoy hearing this story. It's hilarious.
That's the case. Oh, my favorite. Okay, so I got to say, my favorite part. So they did talk about Charlie Edwards.
Oh, my God.
A few times.
I think you're going to. Okay.
Favorite line here.
Okay. I think it's the same one that I love, too. Okay.
100%. I was like, Chris is like an asshole, and I love him.
Oh, my God. I died because I was like, oh, my God. Chris is like on a roll right now.
So we do have a Charlie Edwards episode like way back. We don't have that much information, but whatever. Go look it up. But basically, for those who don't know, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, the 5 members that are currently there, were not the 5 original members. They did have various other members first before they did this. But so Charlie Edwards was in the Backstreet Boys, got fired from the Backstreet Boys, ended up rejoining NSYNC later on, joined that group, ended up quitting because nothing was happening. And after he left both groups, then they rose to fame. So in 2001, he had run into Chris again, and like obviously Chris is doing pretty well with NSYNC and all that stuff. And he's like, "Oh, it's so great! I got this new band together. We're doing all this stuff." And then Chris goes, "Great! You should leave the band immediately so that they can become famous."
Oh my God, I died. I was crying of laughter. That was like
an asshole, and I love it because that is the 1,000% his personality.
Because the way he delivers the line, right? Like, oh my God, that was amazing.
An asshole, but do it in an entertaining way.
I know. I'm just like, oh my God, I love this.
And I was just like, this fucking clown. I swear.
Oh, it's so funny. And then he was even like, let me give him a shout out, and he did a name drop. Oh my God. Oh,
Feels so bad.
It was great.
Yeah. And then, so they were talking about how AJ lived in the same like apartment complex with the Mickey Mouse kids. So like,
yeah, that in this part, he was like naming everyone that was in like his complex, and I was like, wow.
Okay, so they all kind of lived there in the area. He played basketball with Ryan Gosling like every day, and they're like.
Can I just say, like, he's like, oh, the rumor that came out. I was like, buddy, you're the one that said this rumor. I don't know. I just could have sworn, I was like, didn't you say this? And then they ran with what you said. So they're like, he's like blaming the journalist. I was like, oh, I don't know.
Well, it could have been because then he was also talking.
That's true. But I just thought it was funny because it was like, oh, this rumor. I'm like, you started this rumor.
AJ's always the one saying, yeah, exactly. If AJ hadn't said that Ryan Gosling lived in the thing, then the journalist would have asked him. So
right.
Then it became this thing like, oh, Ryan Gosling got cut from the Backstreet Boys, whatever. But that was not true because he never actually auditioned to be in the Backstreet Boys.
Right. But then he was saying that in an interview, I guess they were like making fun of BSB, and then Ryan Gosling was like, well, I think they did pretty well for themselves. So AJ really liked that he stuck up for the Backstreet Boys. which I thought was nice of him to do.
AJ had also said that he had posters on his wall of them, like he had Backstreet Boys posters in his room, like AJ did, not Ryan Gosling. And they thought that he was an idiot, and Ryan laughed at him for doing this and stuff. So yeah. So.
Hey, you're supporting yourself.
You're never gonna get big type thing. So
well, yeah, why not?
Got big. Maybe there's some magic water in that place. It was in prison.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. But anyways, so yeah, so they were kind of basically talking. So then Brian McFayden was talking about how they had like the same producer, the same thing, that caused a lot of things. And then they brought up the Disney special. So the AJ, we've heard this story before. Basically, the boys were burnt out. We've also heard versions in which they said it was too childish to do a Disney special because they had just done the Rolling Stone magazine and stuff. So basically, Backstreet was tired and exhausted and just like, fuck, we don't do this special. So then Johnny's like, here's NSYNC, and then they blew up, and then they got pissed off.
Yes, and then Chris was saying that like he thought it would be like blow up right away because the Mickey Mouse Club, like a few of them were in Mickey Mouse Club, and they're like, okay, we're with Disney people. Mm-hmm. I think they were writing with Disney people, so I'm like, okay, it's like a smooth transition. It's gonna blow up, but then he's like, oh, it didn't blow up right away. It took a couple like months.
Yeah, and I think that's very similar to what happened with the Jonas Brothers too, when they did their like concert.
Yeah,
it took a while for it to pick up, but they kept replaying it, and then suddenly.
Yes, I feel like once you I don't know. Sometimes I think in the summer it was played. Mm-hmm. So if you replay it a lot in the summer, that's where all the ratings come because everyone's out of school.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting that
in our day they didn't have PVRs, so if you wanted to watch something again, you had to put a VHS tape in there. And
that's right. That's how old we are.
We should go through some of the old VHS tapes and see
we should.
They have not disintegrated to pieces. But,
exactly. You never know, right?
But yeah, basically what they were saying is that there was no social media back then, so basically the only way people could find out the internet was in very early stages. There wasn't a lot going on there, so it was basically magazines and TV and radio interviews. That's how they kind of got out there.
Yeah, because even in the interviews, you're just learning about facts of them, but sometimes the facts are not true. They're just saying things of that day that they like, but their likes could be different the next day.
Yeah, exactly. So
but it was, yes, it's very true. Anytime a new magazine came out, we were all at the store to buy it.
You devour that information and be like,
yes.
Oh God, Chris loves tacos and the color. I gotta make him.
Yes, and AJ loved McDonald's and the color yellow at that time.
Was it Howie that liked the Beanie Babies, or somebody did?
Nick liked Beanie Babies, and because I believe in Germany they threw so many Beanie Babies at him.
So maybe it's just okay. This is the Aaron too, but okay. So then AJ was talking about how before it used to be break back, 18-hour days, go, you didn't get any breaks. So now the good of now is they've been able to make their own tour schedule. So they went to a place they've never been before. We're okay, we're going to take 2 days off and explore this country, when they went to Egypt.
Yes, and they were saying they can take breaks and be with their families for a bunch of months. They don't have to go back on tour right away. They can enjoy themselves.
So
they can take a break.
Back then, basically what they were doing.
Yes, and Chris was giving their flowers. I really enjoyed this part as well. They were giving each other their flowers. Chris was saying how.
And they were saying nice things about each other.
Yes, flower. You know what that's saying, right? They're flowers.
Yes. I'm sorry for a minute. I thought you meant actual.
No. So when giving someone their flowers, you're being nice about them. You're saying good things about them. You're respecting what they do. So Chris was saying how they had really good vocals and harmonies because they thought maybe BSB wasn't a harmony group, but they sounded really good. And then as you get older, you appreciate the sound more. So I really enjoyed that part of the conversation. He froze. she is frozen and has muted herself. Okay, she has left now. All right, so let's continue this. What else did they talk about? They talked about how Lou Pearlman was.
Okay, I saw myself freeze in like the most ridiculous faces.
I know. I was just like, she froze and she muted herself, and then I was like, then you left, and I was like, okay, what else did they talk about? And then I was like, in the process of saying how he was, Chris was like, rest in peace, Lou, and then he remembered he said rest in peace, and then was like rest in pieces, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, so basically, yes. And then, so Brian had asked them, like, oh, you know, you two had a thing. So they basically, like, the beef that those two had is they dated the same girl 2 years apart. So whatever.
Yes. And then they were fighting in the media, or they were fighting together. And then apparently the reason why they stopped fighting was the girl was making comments in the media. So then they got together and were like, why are we even fighting? Like,
oh, do you remember which girl this is?
No idea.
I think Jeff Timmons may have also dated her.
Possibly. I think that this was a story that they told maybe at a con.
Possibly.
At a Q&A, yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so lucky her. She could stay in all the boy banders.
So she saved them from being not friends anymore. Like, and then they really basically brought them together as friends.
There you go. So then they kind of had reconnected at like a karaoke bar or something. But then they were also talking about how they reconnected at cons, but then they realized they connected at cons because they connected during Dead 7. So yes,
so Chris, again, giving the flowers, being respectful, you know, like I love this part. When you can appreciate each other's bands nowadays, right? I loved it. So he was like, thank goodness for Nick, because it was so much fun. Because I think like by that point, because Nick brought them all together, they were like, okay, let's hang out more. Let's do stuff.
Right, because there was nothing to do in Montana.
That's right. So I think that was like really the catalyst of the reason why they were able to come to cons, which he was saying. Because of Dead 7, that's the reason why. And I was like, yes, thank you for that decision, because this is the reason why we also went to cons.
Exactly. And that's literally we thanked Nick at that one con in Louisville.
Yes, Louisville.
No.
Yeah, I think it was Fandom Fest, huh?
Anyways, yes, whatever. So we had there, and we're like, oh, thanks so much for making Dead 7, because now Chris has come out of like, he wasn't like, did not see him.
Yes.
Sophia's favorite video.
I don't know if you guys know, Cinzia and I, we have like verbal diarrhea. We just say whatever.
And that was the first time I was seeing Chris in like 10 years or whatever. And so he was like, you're going to cry. I'm not going to cry, you loser. Why would I cry? And then
because in the hotel room, you were saying how like, I don't, like, it wasn't in a mean way. Just like, oh, you didn't understand, like, how come, like, fans cry, like in a like weird, like a fun way, right? Like, oh, I can't understand why. And then it happened, and I was like, oh, thank goodness I have it on video.
The best part is that at first I did not recognize Chris, and I was like, why does that guy look familiar? And then it like hit me that it was Chris, and then I just started crying.
Yes, I think I saw Chris first, and I was like, Cinzia.
Isn't that? And then I'm like,
yes. I feel like I see that a lot. Isn't that? And then like things just happen. Like Eric Michael Estrada.
Anyways,
the tradition of posting this video is coming up on July 30th. So stay tuned for that on Facebook.
Yeah.
June 30th passed, and I was like, oh, did I miss posting this? And then I was like, no, it's July 30th. Got it.
I love that you have that, you know when it is.
It came up in my memories, or like when I did the search to see like, oh, did I miss it? And the date was July 30th.
I'm glad it brings you such great joy.
I don't know why it brings me joy, but I don't know. I love it. It's amazing.
I honestly, again, I've never understood people who cry and whatever, like, whatever, it's just a boy band. But having been a huge NSYNC fan back in my teenage years, and then they just disappeared, and then whatever. So, like, when Lance was performing 5-6 years ago,
Yeah, in London, Ontario, right?
Again, it's fine. You can't.
Okay. So I thought it was just a Chris thing, but apparently it goes to other members as well.
Did not cry for Joey Fatone, though.
No, but Lance, because I think after
Lance?
Chris we saw Lance.
Yes, I saw Lance,
but I think because they sang NSYNC songs, and then I think you were in the mindset like, we're never going to see them perform.
Nothing's ever going to happen. And now look at this. Now
look at it. 2 songs.
Who knows? Maybe next year they might have some. Who knows? We manifested it. It's good. So, anyways.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed.
And I have not cried recently. And then the last.
So, yes. So, and then the London one, I also videoed because it was on your birthday. Because I was like, oh, no, she'll be fine. And then she was not fine. Because honestly, I thought it was just for Chris. But it's also for Lance. It's all good. It's all good.
So, yes. Anyways, all good.
It's all good.
That has nothing
well, like I said, stay tuned for that.
Yes. So, yes, stay tuned on our social medias for that. Okay. So, yeah. I have no idea. AJ can't. Oh, so then they were like talking about them going to cons.
Sorry, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So, they were saying, who is it? Oh, they were talking about how their children listen to each other's songs now.
Yes, that was funny too.
And then Elliot
be mad at them.
Yes, Elliot was like had the headphones on and was like singing out loud when you do, and then AJ was like, hey, and then he's like, hey, what are you listening to? And she's like, NSYNC, is that okay? And then he's like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry. I thought it was funny, yeah.
Because she was wearing headphones. She didn't realize she was singing along to it.
Yes. Like, but I thought it was like, that's funny. And then Chris,
now
I guess
Chris is Chris, unless like he's doing stuff that's not boy band related, like that.
Yeah.
The boy band stuff means nothing to Nash. She does not care.
Speaking of that, Lance, in a new interview with AJ McLean and Brian Austin Green on the new second season of his podcast, Frosted Tips, Lance was like, it took 2 years, but my children now love Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Uh-uh. And then it was funny because Michael posted a video. I don't know if he posted it or Lance posted it. Violet watching like NSYNC on stage, and then they said
from the MTV Movie Awards, I believe, right?
So yeah, so
I think it's the one just got paid, I believe.
Possibly, yeah. So
I think they were like long robes.
And then they're like, "Hey, who's Bubba's friends?" And then Violet's like, "JC."
Oh, it was so cute. Yes.
Very cute. Very cute.
See, you go through all these things. The media pins them against each other, and look at this bloom of friendship and love, and now they're all like best friends.
There you go.
So
okay,
really, thank you, Nick.
Yes, there you go. Nick's the catalyst. I love that man.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they were talking about how like they go to conventions now and they get to see other celebrities, and they're like, "You get excited," and then AJ could not name a single person, and it was hilarious because he kept forgetting everybody's name.
I think he named them after, like he could name a couple, but not like the big one. Yeah,
and then I didn't get to see this guy or this guy, so he can name drop all the people he didn't get to see.
It was so funny. I was just like, what the?
Yes, and then they were talking about how fun it is to hear their songs in movies and TV shows and stuff. So like a clip will be playing, and Chris was saying how exciting it is to hear like not just NSYNC but like Backstreet. So he's like, and this is the end. He was like super excited. He's like, I know those guys, you know, like excited. So then AJ was talking about how when he went to go see This Is the End in theaters, they went to like this one theater that there was like nobody there except some drunk guys in front of them, and they're like, oh god. He's like, I'm so embarrassed, like whatever. And then when that part came on, like the drunk guys got up and were singing and dancing along to the song. So yeah, it was pretty funny. And then he was talking about how they have a massive following in Canada, obviously.
Thank you.
Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel.
Yes.
Was very excited to have him, and he did not need to learn the dance because he already knew the dance. So he was very
excited. Because he's a huge fan.
Yes. So Yeah, it was pretty
So
fun.
we went to watch that in theaters. Did we go together?
We saw that at the drive-in.
Yes. My cousin went to watch it, and after the movie, he's like, "Do you know what I saw at the end credits?" And I was like, "What did you see?" Because just to play dumb. And he's like, "The Backstreet Boys were in this movie. Did you know this?" I'm like, "Of course I knew this. I already watched it." Yeah.
But it was like a fun surprise for people who didn't.
It was fun, right? I was like, "Yay!"
And then I can guarantee that a lot of them were us going out to go watch this.
So
movie.
I think that was also like it helped them to get big again, because from there they went to the Florida Georgia Line song.
Yeah, that's true. And they did.
And then
Dodger Mama and Me.
they did New Kids on the Block, or was that before?
Yeah. NKO.
No, that was before. Yeah, that was before, right?
Yeah, so it was fun.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening there, right?
Yes.
And then DNA, the album DNA, and then they got like a Grammy nomination. Like it just snowballed, right? Sorry, go ahead.
It's nice to see how well Backstreet are doing.
Yes.
Big tours and things like that.
Yes. And Chris was saying like he appreciates it to see them still doing so well.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Then they were talking about Vegas briefly, and AJ was saying it was fun. A lot of women that were drunk and getting kicked out for projectile vomiting. I was like, oh God, well, hopefully that didn't happen near us. But yeah. And it was interesting to see, they were talking about how like the fans are different ages, like when they were teenagers, the parents would come, they're like, oh, or whatever. And now they're the parents with the kids, and the kids like them, and now sometimes the parents do too. So it's like a multi-generational thing. So it's kind of fun.
I just think it's cool that like you stick by your band that you chose when you're like 11. You know?
Yeah.
You seem like at all the stages, really.
Mm-hmm. Grow up with them. Yes. So then they were saying that it was more Lou and the press that were pitting them against each other, because they were talking about like the team, whatever, Backstreet and NSYNC, but it was more them. It wasn't, whatever. And then AJ was talking about Johnny left, and it was basically he thought to kind of keep them. But a lot of the Backstreet Boys were upset about this and thought that Johnny was betraying them, but really he was just trying to keep them going.
Yeah, so he was saying like Johnny did it to protect them, so they weren't like, they didn't get together a lot, like they didn't see them at like award shows and that kind of thing. And then I was like, how does that really help them?
I don't know. And then they were basically talking about how Lou was always like saying, it's like Burger King and McDonald's, like they're competitors, but we got to keep the same thing. So he was kind of like talking about that stuff and how he had to have his hand in thing. I don't know if I wrote these notes or not for that part, but basically it's the same stuff we've heard before, that Chris had to keep it on the down low, he couldn't tell people, and yes. Then AJ was saying, "Oh, Chris, you're lucky because you got to learn from our mistakes." And Chris is like, "What the fuck?" Like and then it just kind of like stopped and then went into
yes. So you're like, "Oh, it's going down. What is gonna happen?" Obviously, I'm just exaggerating, but I thought it was like, "Oh, Chris fought back. He knows."
And then he was saying, "Yeah, but we also had to do all this other stuff." So like they had similar experiences. So then Chris was
like
band together.
They each, had struggles. Maybe like I get what AJ's saying though. Like Backstreet Boys had to do a lot of the groundwork, so maybe it was a little bit easier for NSYNC to come in and get the reward.
Yes,
because they know, okay, if we do this, we're gonna get big because Backstreet Boys has the blueprint.
But then he was also talking about how that and that. Like they did go through and stuff. So basically, like they had to hide the fact that NSYNC was coming, and because like Backstreet was like the golden child of TransCon, and even when it finally was revealed that this band was there, they got a lot of cold shoulder from the TransCon people. Dared to come up against Backstreet.
Yes, because he was saying BSB was the golden child. So when NSYNC went to TransCon. That place, I don't know, the building, the employees were like, "Oh, we're not with NSYNC, we're with Backstreet Boys. They're the ones who are our golden child. We're going to protect them." Who are you guys? You're nobody.
You guys coming in, not realizing that Lou was the one that actually secretly did Chris to do all this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then they were kind of like talking about like various things, and then they were talking about how Chris was excited because so they finally got this big check presentation. So they were talking about like because they were saying how Brian was the money man for Backstreet Boys. So Brian's the one who was ready to uncover things. He said Howie too. So Howie and Brian are both like
I feel like Brian and Howie are the number guys.
Exactly. And then Chris said into their group, JC was more of the business guy. And that JC had a cousin who was a lawyer and all this stuff. So basically I think he said they were in Germany, which I thought they were in Vegas, but I don't know. They were somewhere, they were getting the big check presentation. So the guy from the German record label was like, we're giving you money, but you should look into things. Whatever.
Yes, because Chris was saying like $10,000 is a lot of money when you haven't had any money, right? Like when you're poor or broke, 10,000 is a lot of money from being poor to $10,000.
I think the family was on welfare for it as well. And
I think JC was like,
he's like, so
we've done so many shows.
Each other, and like, yeah, where? And then JC's like, guys, fucking $10,000. Like, yeah, isn't that amazing? Like, we got $10,000. We've never had this much money. This is crazy. And JC's like, we've been touring for 2.5 years.
Yeah. Like, you have to make some kind of money from that. Yeah. Like, at least $1 million, like some millions.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a slap in the face to them and stuff. So, but Chris was saying, like, basically they used to get like a DM of like, I think he said 50 or 70 bucks a day or something. So he would keep that, and then he would use it to like pay rent and stuff because he was just scraping shit together. So then JC's like, okay, cool, that's great that we got $10,000. However, when you were working at the Outback Steakhouse, how much did you make in a year? And then Chris was like, oh, okay. So then it kind of clicked, because he was like, I'm doing my dream job, I'm going over the world, I'm performing on stage. Like, the money is just an extra bonus because stuff was covered.
Yeah. And obviously they grew to love Lou. They had like a father-son relationship in that, and they didn't think like anything of it that he would do those things because exactly. he did so much for them, right? So that was a hard pill to swallow for them, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. So they were also talking about the last time they saw Lou. So AJ had seen Lou about 3 years because AJ had some car that only came in a specific color and they weren't making it anymore, and Lou wanted to buy it from him, or he wanted it, and AJ's like, I'll sell it to you, I won't give it to you, I think you have a discount. So they went out for like pizza or something and sold him that, and then they were supposed to visit Lou in jail for their documentary. All 5 of them were going to go. Then it came 3, and then it was like, okay, let's go. Which was going to possibly be Brian or Kevin, I guess, because they were the more, like, just to ask him why, like, what the hell. But then
I think those 2 would be good choices because I think they would be like right to the point.
Exactly. So anyway, so that didn't happen because Lou got jumped for being an informant. So I guess the guards wanted him to report on people. They also had other people reporting on people. So then they found out that he was talking about them. So
obviously I have not been in prison, but I've been watching lots of shows about prison, and obviously you do not throw people under the bus when you're in prison if you want to survive.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know. I watch a lot of shows, and then like the prison, I don't know. This is like prison 101 apparently. You do not throw people under the bus.
Don't throw people under the bus. Yeah. So then they're like, okay, we're probably not going to let you guys in. And then he got jumped a second time. And then when he was on his way to the hospital, he had a heart attack, and then he ended up dying from that. So that's what the documentary. And then Brian was like, oh, Chris, when was the last time you talked to Lou? And he's like, we didn't have any contact after the lawsuit. And basically Johnny said to stay away from him because he's being investigated for a Ponzi scheme. So if Chris was going to be talking to Lou or whatever, they'd be like, oh, maybe we're gonna start looking at you, Chris, right?
Yeah, they would be like, oh, maybe they're attached to him as well.
Yes.
And you don't
So
want that, right?
He was saying how like he likes to give people second chances and third chances and stuff. And at this point, then AJ started talking about boundaries and how he'd gone to Arizona for this thing. And he has a tattoo of these letters. If it doesn't fit, don't wear it. So stop bending over backwards for people. So he has always felt a little bit bad for Lou. However, when he was doing his 12-step program and they had to like the resentments, like Lou was his first resentment. Like Lou was the first person who really like screwed him over big time, and he resents things. And then like,
which is good to hear from AJ, because I know like AJ likes a lot of people. Like he has a big heart, and maybe he's like, okay, it's okay. He was okay, like, you know. But yeah, it was good to hear that, because Lou like screwed them over. Come on.
100%. So they're like Lou basically took them in as if they were kids. Like his house was really cool. They would spend all this time together. They were at Lou's house more than they were at their own house. And then like being with Lou, it was like you got special treats. They got to go backstage at Universal and skip all the lines and do all this stuff. So then Brian's like, so basically Lou was like grooming you guys, and they're like, basically, yeah, because they
pretty much
gave that your role because most of them were away from their families. So he took on this thing, and they built all this trust. And they're like, did he discourage you guys from getting your own lawyers? And he's like, they didn't discourage us, but we didn't even think to get our own lawyers because Lou was our guy. He had our back. He had all that trust built. So that's why they questioned him. And because Lou had the gift of the gab, so he could just.
He's very charming.
Like he could make people believe shit. They're like, you know, like he did not own any blimps or planes, but he made people think he had it. And Chris was like, we didn't have Google back then. I couldn't Google it, which is hilarious because I also remember in high school trying to look up transcontinental because like, oh, we got to support them if we travel. We should use their airplanes. Couldn't find any information. Very early internet, but I was like, huh. And then basically what the Lou thing is that he just kept making more bands. And Chris said that after NSYNC broke, he started his own kind of stuff, and he actually has a song about Lou Pearlman called "Oh Lou," which is interesting. I want to see if it's posted anywhere because it'll kind of cool to hear it. But basically, there's a line about how Lou would step over $1 to get a dime. He should have just kept Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and just kept like doing that stuff. But he's like, oh, I can make more money with this machine of getting more boy bands. So then he was just like,
he got very greedy.
Got greedy. He did the 1/6 member thing. He did all this. He was double and triple dipping and getting all this money. And he could have just stuck with those two, and they'd probably been fine. Shouldn't have got into the Ponzi scheme and all that shit. And then AJ's like, I don't even know if Art Garfunkel is even his cousin. Like, this is the lore. And he's like, oh, yes, this is the music industry. He's like, is he? Is he just some random guy? So
I feel like we heard that he was, right?
I think, yeah, he did, yeah. But
I got what he tried to say, yes.
Exactly.
Because you never know.
So then we're talking about how AJ found the audition in the Blue Pages. He was signed on the spot. 2 days later, he had gone to Lou's house, auditioned with Yep. So AJ was the first member of Backstreet Boys. Howie was supposed to be there, the whole Tony Donetti thing, and it took a year to find him. 60 or 70 guys auditioned for the Backstreet Boys. He thinks Nick sang Richard Marx, Howie sang My Prerogative, and had his own dance, which AJ said it was a terrible dance. But so at this point, it was AJ, Nick, Howie, Charlie Edwards, and Sam Lakita, and Sam is the one who turned into Phoenix Stone. So they're like, what happened to Charlie Edwards? So what happened is that Lou wanted him out of the band, and he made Howie tell him that he wasn't a fit for the group. So Lou's like, Howie, you're closest to him. You knew him from school. You need to tell him that he's not.
Yes, because Howie, Charles, and Chris went to college together.
Yes, that is correct. So Howie had to break the news, and AJ didn't want to be there for that because he knew it was. So he was out smoking, and then he just like watched it go down from outside. Apparently he didn't make like a scene or anything. He just kind of got up and drove away and stuff like that. But AJ was like, it was so awkward. And then Kevin came in next because Lou's limo driver's friend knew Kevin. So that's how he came in. So around the time he came in, so it was like 5 of them, and Sam Lakita was still there, but he wanted to be a solo artist. So he wrote a song just for him to sing, and the guys were like, oh, hey, like we're a band, we have to all sing. He's like, no, this is like my own song, you guys can't. They're like, dude, if you want to be a solo artist, be a solo artist. He's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So he took off. So then they were going to go back to the drawing board of those 60 to 70 guys. Yo, I have a cousin. So then, again, we know the story. He called Brian's school. Brian got sent to principal's office. He was all stressed out because he'd never been called to principal's office before.
Yes, he thought his mom or one of his family members was like hurt or something. And then when he got on the phone, he's like, no, everything's fine. I just wanted to call. I got permission from your mom to call you.
Okay, so he did call the mom first. I've always wondered that. Like,
yeah. Yes, because in I feel like it was in interviews he said it, or maybe like, yeah, I think one of like the documentary interviews that he did to promote the movie. He was saying like, yeah, I got obviously his aunt's permission because they're cousins. Can I call him at school?
So basically, as we know, the next day he was on a flight.
Because obviously he called the house first, and obviously he's in school, so he can't, you know?
Fair enough.
As one does.
So Brian got there. The rehearsal space was in the garage of the house, industrial fans and cracked mirrors. And then they found a song, and as soon as they heard Brian singing, they're like, yep, that's the missing piece.
This is our God, this is our sound, we got it.
Their sound. And then 2 weeks later, that was their first performance, which was Grad Night 93
at SeaWorld.
And so that's where they performed. And then they made some jokes about, hey, it was 420 is your thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yes. They're like, oh, we didn't know that at first, but now it's funny. So when you said about how he had to tell Charles, then Chris brought up his story because apparently he told this to Brody. Apparently he wanted a guy named Brody in NSYNC.
So Brody, that's I do have that somewhere.
Yes, Brody. So
but
they were
in story. So basically Lou's like, okay, I'm going to tell Brody that he's not in the band, he's not a good fit, blah, blah, blah. So Chris
yes, but Chris is like, what? I want him in the band. He's good. He's like my friend.
It's not your band type thing. So basically he ended up going.
So they were in the car together, and then Lou's like, you're amazing. You did such a good job. But Chris has something to tell you. And then Chris like, what the fuck?
Like, okay. And
why are you telling him that?
So Chris
and then whatever like Lou told him beforehand, he just used those words and told Brody. So he's like, I don't know what to say. I want him in my band.
Yeah, basically. So then Chris was like, okay, but I like Brody, and then he had to like, so basically he had to break up. So Lou did this thing, so I think it's really funny. Again, another parallel. So how he had to do it there.
Yeah.
He had to do it there, and it's just like.
I was just like, wow, like, oh my gosh, some similarities there, eh?
Yep. Sorry. Okay. So that was like C note. So I don't know if Brody is in C note, and that's why they were talking about it. But
oh, I guess C note opened for the NSYNC at one point, possibly, maybe.
We were just talking about how Lou just made another band.
Or yeah, something like that. And then Chris is like, I love C note. They're back. Are they on tour with him?
They did They did 1 or 2 shows with the Pop 2K tour, I think in Florida. And
okay.
Did a show in New York, and Trevor from O-Town opened for them.
Okay, so yeah, so then Chris was like, yeah, I love those guys. They're like awesome.
Yeah,
I was like, I never knew. If I have no idea. Maybe I've heard of them, but couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so then Brian.
But they were at 90s Con.
Yes, they walked around. And
yes.
I think Boy Band Stacy helped kind of bring them back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe they're in Pop 2000 in Paradise this year.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Yes. Okay, so then, so then Brian was excited because he always wanted to pick the brains of the bands because they saw the show.
Yes, in the height of things, he was like, I always wanted to talk to you guys and like talk, like hear about these stories, like how similar or like how it went or like what's going. This interview, and I also enjoyed it.
Yes, so then they were talking about how they're different, but they're also very similar. A lot of mirrored things, a lot of shared experiences.
Yeah,
and then he was saying there wasn't really any competition; it was more of an internal competition. That we felt that when they were doing something like, oh, they got a new hit, we got to up our game. So he's like, we weren't trying to compete, we were just trying to like make ourselves better. So Chris said that basically the two bands needed each other to kind of drive them to work harder. Yeah. So
because Chris was saying Backstreet Boys was up here, so they had to like 10 times harder to get to their level of amazingness.
It's like, okay, we gotta like make sure we're not slacking here.
Yeah. So yeah, he really like gave the flowers. Like he was giving out the flowers.
Yeah, so they basically motivated each other, and they didn't. And AJ was like, it doesn't matter who came first. We needed each other to let it get.
Yes.
So then
they help each other get better.
Yes, exactly. So then AJ and Joey are on tour, as we talked about Legendary Night. So AJ said it's basically like organized chaos because they're both the hams of the group.
Well, it came from an idea at 90s Con. It just kind of went. It was just like a plain canvas, and now look at it go. Look how amazing and fun it is.
So he says it's kind of, he said, igniting a flame for both groups. So people who maybe only ever saw Backstreet Boys, have never seen NSYNC or whatever. So he's like, it's good to kind of like, oh hey, like the other band is cool too. And he said because 2020.
I guess, to be fair, I guess this will be the closest thing that they get from NKOTBSB.
I don't know.
It's AJ and Joey, like BSB NSYNC kind of thing.
So he said 2024 is a year for chill for Backstreet Boys. So there's only a couple of events. So he's about to drop his first album, and he thought this would be a good way to also market to the other people as well. Are you AJ? Are you dropping an album? We love you.
We love you, AJ. We appreciate the music that you make, the singles. But you've been telling us that you were going to have an album out every year. I still remember the con that we went to in Louisville, Kentucky, where you told me the album was going to come out that September. And I think that was like 2016.
Just kept moving.
It is now 2024.
Yes, sir.
And he was like, he was gonna move his family to Nashville, but then COVID happened.
Yeah, so basically.
So then he scrapped that whole thing.
You're a Swiss Army knife, and AJ was like, what the fuck? And then he was like, so he said, like, you change your tune based on your mood. So you've done country, you've done dance, you've done other things. So then AJ was talking about coming to Nashville, but then the pandemic happened, and then after the dust settled, I was like, oh, they're not going to remember me. There's no point in going. I'm like, for sure they would, but okay.
I feel like I heard a story like AJ made like waves in the community, and it was like frowned upon. I don't know if that's like a rumor or something.
But yeah, Brian was like, oh yeah, everybody loved you. And I was like, really? Because I feel like people didn't.
Well, I know. I was like, okay. Brian's being nice, I think.
I have no idea. So then Chris was like, okay, so what are you? What's this album going to be? And he said it's kind of like pop, funk, R&B, soul, just good songs, 80s, 90s now. And he was talking about the song Arizona that he's performing with Joey, like not with Joey, by himself on stage in this concert.
And there's like I saw like some videos from the concert, a song called You.
Yes, yes.
It's very emotional, I heard.
Mm-hmm. So this inspired by his mental health retreat. And at the retreat, he learned about authenticity. And then AJ was always about women and parties and drugs and all that stuff, and partying and doing all this stuff off stage. And then he said when Brian would finish the tour, he would be like, okay, I'm punching out, going home. And AJ's like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is like our life. And then he now realizes, oh, you need to turn off your like on stage persona and go back to real life.
Yes, because Brian has shown that the Backstreet Boys are a job. Even though they love each other, he's shown it that it's a job, and then you go to your family.
Yes. So So that's why.
Which I think like helps your mental health as well.
Yeah, for sure. Right? You got to turn it off. You can't be working 24/7. So AJ said this project is actually under Alexander James because that's who he is. He was in.
It's going to be so weird to call him Alex because we've been calling him AJ for 27 years.
Alex, and I just feel like it was disrespectful to like Europeans and things. And I thought it was more kind of disrespectful to call him Alex because that was more for like his family to call him, and then we would call him AJ. But
yeah, like even now he's like, "Oh, call me Alex." I'm like, "Cannot call you Alex. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I know you're saying this, but like, your name is AJ. I have met you as AJ. But is that disrespectful though? Because now he's telling you to call him Alex. Like, like what do you even do?
I don't know.
He's like, hey buddy, love to you.
Yeah. Okay, so he said he was in studio with Ty Dolla $ign recently, and then he was talking about how his youngest daughter because he was drunk and he did a lot of blow. He did not do fentanyl. He was very adamant about this. I guess it wasn't that big yet. And he's lost 12 friends to fentanyl overdoses.
That was so sad.
That is sad. But then Lyric was like, when he had come back from this like event in Vegas, she went to go hug him and he said, "You don't smell like my dad." So that was like the turning point for him to be like.
Yes, that was very sad to hear.
Yes. So he was talking about how he shares his story, even if it helps one person, that's all that really matters, is that he's going out there and sharing that. And then talking about his boundaries, and he knows which people he wants in his inner circle and which people he doesn't. So that's something that he's
Which I'm so proud of him for, because he had a lot of enablers.
People pleaser and wanting to like.
Yeah. I think Nick also had the enablers as well. So.
Anyway, so then Chris was like, "Real life is my family. I need to turn off the partying and be there for my kids because like I can't be partying all the time, and then in the morning your kid is jumping on you, and let's play with me, and you're like, dude, I'm too tired. Like, you want to be there for your family because your family is your people." And AJ said, like, that's so true. And he was talking about Daddy-Daughter Day at the nail salon. And he's like, he loves being a girl dad because he's not really into like sports. He only plays golf and bowling. So he loves shopping. So that's fun, like things to do with the girls. So he enjoys that.
He sounds like a really great girl dad.
Yes.
So I'm so happy for him. He gets to be the best dad because he didn't have like the father figure growing up, right? Like his dad, although they reconciled a couple years ago or a year ago. Yeah. But that's so awesome for AJ, right? Like he gets to be better than what he had.
So then they were saying that this podcast, or whenever they hang out, it's like a therapy session.
This was basically a therapy session.
Yeah, basically.
That we got to watch.
That no one really knows what, like, unless you've been in a big boy band and you don't have the same experiences, you don't know what you've gone through. So it's nice when the boy banders get together and they can talk about shared experiences and things like that. So
right, because they all been through the boy bandness.
And then they finished off by singing Name Drop.
Yes. It was with a bow on it. So nice.
Brian just really wants to sing and be part of the thing. So
yes. Well done.
So yeah, so
I think it was a great interview, two-parter.
For sure.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so that is Name Drop, and it was the episode with AJ McLean. So it's called From Backstreet to Bold Beginnings. So, Name Drop.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Chris and Brian. That was awesome.
Yes.
Guys, we have content now for the podcast.
That too, but yes, it's always nice to see some of our favorite members hanging out.
Always nice to hear them share stories. That's why I think like Joey and AJ like mesh well together as well.
Oh, yeah.
They like to share their stories together.
It'd be nice if they added some more dates or something to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's going well. Like, good for them.
It is good. Like, the fun night. So yes. So yeah.
Like I said, from the idea from 90s Con look how much it's blown up.
Yeah. So I have a suspicion that AJ will be at those concerts at Disney. Unless
And
Germany.
AJ keeps talking about this 2025 thing.
He keeps talking. I'm like, stop talking about it. Like, what is it? He's like, oh, this is a big thing. It's going to blow your mind. We've never done it before. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm
So
like,
apparently there's a month. Did you hear this? Apparently it's coming out in September.
oh, interesting.
So we'll see. Okay, let's see.
I thought I heard November. And maybe people were just guessing, like, oh, AJ, it'll be out in December or something. So that's interesting. September. Okay.
Apparently he said it in Soundcheck. I think that's what it was.
All right.
I read it on Twitter.
All right, let's have a little faith in AJ. Maybe he's actually going to tell us something exciting and
I don't know.
expensive.
It's like a grain of salt, but let's see what happens.
For sure. So anyways, all
Because
right.
I don't think any of the other boys have said anything.
None of them are talking at all.
So I'm like, AJ, you're getting in trouble. Like, how are you not being scolded yet?
In all fairness, Brian and Kevin really aren't doing much. Howie has randomly showed up and started making like funny little skits, which is hilarious.
Oh my god. Oh my god. The one that he just posted, like trying to find out like what salty means, and he's like,
is that where the kids are like quizzing him on what words are?
yeah, and he's like, should I know this? They're like, yes, you should know this. It's not that hard. Oh my god, I was dying.
So funny. And then there was like a father.
What did he say about salty? He thought it was like a person? Something. I think he thought it was a person. And then I was just like, oh my god, the one that killed me was bussin'. And he's like, you're on a bus? I was like, oh my god, Howie. To be fair, the word bus is in the word. So I understand like where he's coming from, but it killed me. It killed me.
I'm not gonna say what any of those words mean because I feel like as an old person I would also fuck it up. But yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I was just like, oh my god. But yeah, way to go, Howie. Keep coming with some of those
Yeah,
skits.
like this random Howie content all of a sudden. I'm like, bring it on, boy.
No, we'll take it.
And then Nick just started up another leg of his tour in Europe. So maybe
Yes. And the crowds have been very big.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So happy for him.
Nice.
Good job, Nick. And Brian just posted a photo on Instagram
Like a checking in photo?
the other day saying, hey, just checking in, saying hi. I haven't said much in months.
Oh, there you go.
I'm glad you're okay, buddy. Thank you for sharing. We love you.
There we go. Anything with Nick and the boys?
And, like, is Kevin okay, or is he still in the woods? Because I haven't heard from Kevin.
Somewhere.
Have we heard from Kevin?
No,
Maybe Kristen posted a video on her Instagram or something. I don't know.
maybe.
But I was just like, can you guys get back in the studio or something? We need some new music.
Oh, do you think that's what the AJ thing is? But they've done music.
Maybe.
I don't know. Who knows? It could be.
Remember when we were supposed to get an acoustic album?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when we were supposed to get, like, a re-recorded of their hit album?
Remember when we were supposed to have promo for the Christmas album?
Remember? I remember all of
For
it.
their 25th anniversary, they were going to do 10 concerts in Orlando, one for each album, and it was going to be like a...
I know, it was just like an idea. That's why they shouldn't say things in interviews and then you're like, get excited and then nothing happens.
Just kidding. Not happening. Yeah, so,
I think they just did a cruise that year, 25th anniversary.
yes, I think so. Yeah. All right, guys, we are well over time. So
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed all this fun talkingness. It was like a variety. It's like a variety show, right? We sprinkled some boy band updates or one update of the boy band. And then we got the name drop. We did name drop.
Yeah.
And then we ended it off with Backstreet Boys and some of their content. Some, possibly.
All right. Thanks for taking a break with us, guys.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.